Thank you for Patreon now for donating to the Patreon.
Hey guys, it's Vandy. I'm back in the Card Fight Vanguard deck profiles. Click, subscribe, and shall we? Before we get the started, remember these decks are not built for optimal ability. They're built for fun. They're my personal builds of the decks. So if you don't like them, fair enough. But remember, just because it doesn't work for you doesn't mean it doesn't work for anyone else, and it doesn't mean it doesn't work for me. So don't just outright call them horrible even if it doesn't work for you. So let's go ahead and get this started, shall we? Today we have Brandt Ava for set 8. The last Craycross Epic deck, to my knowledge, that I have yet to do a deck profile on. I mean, there are obviously the other stuff from set 8 that I'm going to do next week, but you get the point. So, Ava. Ava's that one deck that I disliked a lot. Like, I didn't like a lot of the things that came out of set 5, because I didn't like a lot of them, like, you know, reprinting the encounter cards or like doing more encounter cards. I didn't really like the Craycross Epic stuff. I mean, I liked them to some extent, but like, you know, I kind of hated all of them more or less. But like, this is the one that if I was asked which one do I dislike the most, I would have within 5 seconds said Ava, just straight up Ava. And the best part is she has slowly become one of my favorite decks to play because of Great the Obscutoid. Yep, just him. So let's go ahead and get this deck started, shall we? This deck is almost exactly the same as my set 7 deck, or set 5 deck, believe it or not. So first up, we have our starter, and one who craves knowledge, Ava. Oh my god, my throat. Anyways, grade 0 boost, 5k power, 5k shield, 6k base. Auto when she's rolled upon, if you win second, draw card. Standard starter, special spot, it's just a free draw if you win second. You can really make this any starter you like, actually. No, you can't make this any starter you like. But, you know, might as well run the Ava line for the Ava deck just because flavor, and also because I just brought this up in my Roro video, because I recorded that right before this one, that if they, for some ungodly reason, bring back Still Vampire for Dark Irregulars in D, which I don't know why they would, but I'm just saying I would appreciate it, then actually having the full ride line of, you know, the actual name would make sense, because Steel Vampire would change the names and Nullify Glittered if you had different ride line starters. Just saying. I find it funny how that would be the case. I'm not saying they're going to do it, but I would just love for them to do it, because it'd be funny to me. Anyways, yeah, this is our starter. Make it whatever you want, but I just want her. Then we have Overtrigger and Star Dragon DD of Infinitude, Eldo Breath, Grade 0 Boost, 50k Shield, 5k Power, or as I like to call it, PT-Inducing Beast of Destruction. If you have ever played against Brandt, to be more specific, if you ever played against Gravidia, 9 times out of 10 you know what this is, and 9 times out of 10 you have PTSD from it. So, like me. Anyways, Overtrigger, you may want to Overtrigger in your deck, revisit trigger move card, draw cartoons when you use the specific move for the turn, and if you revealed it during your drive check, activate a additional effect, which is double the power and critical of your entire front row until the end of the turn. Increase double the power and critical when activated. So, if you drive check this, someone on your opponent's board is getting 2 million. And everything has at least double crit, unless they had 0 crit to begin with. So, dangerous card. It straight up is the most hardest thing to survive in my opinion, because even if you do Albari is not nearly as bad. Because, yeah, it increases 1 million to 2 units possibly, but Albari doesn't put everything in kill range. So, take that as you will. 1 of Eldo Breath. The pressure this thing provides is stupid, and if you see it come down and you not only survive the turn but you win the game, and they drive checked it at a very crucial point in the match, it wasn't just like early game when they had no rear guards, then I commend you, because you deserve that win, especially if they had a full board and they multi-attacked you with it. So, 1 of this in the main deck. And then we have our normal triggers. We have 3 copies of Evermilite Connector, Grade 0 Boost, 5k Shield, 4k Base, Draw Tunes Guard Circle with opponent's Vanguard to get 3 plus 5k Shield. You know, increases the hand for draws, and then, you know, has the 10k Shield, which is nice to have because, again, 10k Shield. So, why not? Especially because on occasions, if this deck, like, flops in guarding power, which is rare, but if it does, the draw trigger kind of seems to bring it back, so that's cool. And then we have our 4 fronts in Cardinal, Draco, and Pyro. Grade 0 Boost, 15k Shield, 4k Power. Front Trigger's Guard Circle for opponent's Vanguards, Grade 3 Gary, gets plus 5k Shield. So another 20k Shield. Front Trigger is nice to have. It just straight up increases the entire front row's power by 10. That does help because on occasion I have to waste boosters on my first swing, so when I multi-attack with Ava, one of my units is smaller than the other, so it's nice to have the extra 10k to even them out, and again, the 20k shield help for his defense. Then we have 4 copies of RoboCop, or the non-copyrighted name, which is Patrol Robo Decker Cop. Grade 0 Boost, 15k Shield, 4k Power, Critical Trigger, auto rate, then about a boost in anything, put it to soul, choose your mix plus 2k for the turn. Okay, the 2k does fucking nothing, but it ends itself up in soul, which is great. Until you remember, this deck doesn't really have a soul problem unless you bricked hard. So, yeah, technically this could be a vanilla, and as long as you don't brick hard, you're fine. And by brick hard, I mean you just don't see, like, the order that goes to soul at all the entirety of the game. Just saying that now, but 4 of Decker Cop. Good card. Then we have 4 copies of Alter Rate Spear Dragon. That looks so weird to see in English, because this whole time I've been seeing it in Japanese, where like the Japanese name was just not these 2 words separate. It was Alter Rate Spear Dragon, not just Alter Space Rate Spear Dragon. Now it just looks so weird in English. But anyways, grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 5k base, standard heal, no special about it. If you're wondering why this is the normal heal and not the effects heals, it's because I don't like the effect heals. In my opinion, they're too situational, where one of them only goes off if your opponent's unit is attacking for at least the second time that turn, implying that it had to restand. So, like, if they're not doing that, then automatically that's a 5k shield wasted because they have 10k shield bases. And even if they do, you might have to drop those heals beforehand. You might have to drop extra cards. Like, I can think of so many times where I've had to do that. And then as for the other one, it only works if your opponent has extra crits, which in my opinion is even rarer because, you know, there are a few skills that actually get extra crits. So, like, I might as well run the normal heal where, yeah, in total it has less guarding power, but situationally it kind of has more guarding power depending on which one you end up in. And I don't like running like the rainbow one with them because, you know, what if you end up with the wrong heal at the wrong time? Well, sucks for you. So yeah, I like the 4 of regular heals because they're consistent with the 15k shield. But if you want to run the effect heals, go ahead. Then we have our grade 1s. First up, we have 4 copies of the most important order in this deck, and probably the best order in this deck, Result of the Experiment Henceforth, aka the card everyone wanted to be printed in set 5, where we said we wanted a grade 1 research, or at least I remember people saying we want another research. I wanted a grade 1, and they gave us one in the form of a promo, and they gave us another one in the form of an actual set 8 card, but not really worth using in this deck, but then we got this confirmed to be in English, which is why I'm running this. Anyways, play set order after set order is put into your order zone. It's a research card, by the way. Play it if your Vanguard's a glitter with Ava on its card name, and then continues order zone. All your rear guards with Obscutoid in the card names cannot be retired by your opponent's card effects. However, they can be bounced, sent to bottom, sent to drop zone if Bushy ever brings that wording over from Buddy Fight, bound, put to soul, etc. Essentially everything but killing them by effects. That's literally everything it is. Which doesn't cover much, but in D it covers enough considering it's D. I mean, then again, until Shoujo Doji got revealed, who kind of gets around that. And then we have Act Order Zone. If your Order Zone has 4 more research cards, including itself, put this card into your soul, countercharge 1, choose a card with Obscutoid in its card name from your drop zone, put it to hand. So, cool. Free countercharge, which on occasion Ava can run into counterboss problems, and not to mention you get you a soul, which again, Ava can occasionally run into that, and it fetches an Obscutoid back from drop, which Ava could call from hand to board. This card's second skill literally handled every one of Ava's problems. This is why some cards are promos, because they're just too fucking good at what they do. It's a grade 1, so you can play it the second you ride. It literally solves Ava's entire problem, in my opinion, within the second skill, or the third skill actually, and then, the second skill, and then the first skill provides protection. Granted, not a lot, but indeed, that is a lot. Stupid. That's all I can say for this order. Just stupid. 4 of. There's little to no reason not to run this. Not to run it at 4 of to begin with. I mean, 3 of maybe, but you have to run this at least 3 of. Then we have 4 copies of Detonation Bulbamine, or Detonation Mutant Bulbamine. Bulbamine, yeah. Or Detonation Monster Bulbamine, because apparently they're redoing a lot of the names with erratas. Anyways, grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto rear guards, need about it, boosted, anything. If your order zone has a set order in it, which is almost guaranteed in this deck, put this card to soul, countercharge 1. Okay, again, fixes Ava's problem all in 1 second. Like, you get soul and you get countercharge. Like, I don't think this deck has any actual problems. In my opinion, Ava is one of like the best decks in terms of resources. Like, we have 2 different cards that can fix soul and countercharge within the same skill, and one of them adds stuff to hand. To be more exact, your main mechanic or like your main unit back to hand. Like, this deck's consistency is out of the fucking world. So 4 Bulbamine, it's nice. Hell, I don't even run the grade 1 recycler because A, we have a total of 8 Obscutoids in this deck, so you don't need it. But 2, I never even ran to begin with and I was still doing fine. But 2, now you definitely don't need it because, again, you have not only more Obscutoids, but now you have ways to get them back into your hand. Like, you don't really need that card. I prefer Bulbamine. So, 4 Bulbamine, just a good grade 1 to have. It's a free fucking countercharge just by boosting. Only downside is you lose a rear guard out of it, but you could just choose not to use the skill. Then we have 4 copies of our PG and Violate Dragon, grade 1 boost, 0/6k base. Continue to send you may have up to 4 sounds to deck and all put on guard circle. Choose your mix. It cannot be hit to end a battle. And if your hand is trimmed a card, choose a card from hand, discard it. I cannot focus today because I'm way too hungry for this. But anyways, standard PG, no special battle, because that means if this is only one of the cards in your hand when you put on guard circle, you do not have to discard. That's pretty great because that essentially means you can be able to aggressive as you want in the early game, and still nullify attacks in the late game when your hand's at pretty much 0 hand cards. And that's great, you know, because I do play this deck very aggressively most of the time, so unless I'm playing one very specific deck. So, you know, being able to rely on this on my defense is pretty amazing. And if you're wondering why I don't run the Blitz PG, because A, the Blitz PG is only free is if your opponent has the triple drive icon, not drive +1. And because when push comes to shove, you can't call Blitz PG. There have been a few games where I have had to call PG to win because either numbers or intimidation factor to where my opponent just doesn't count because they think they've already lost. That is why I don't run Blitz PGs, because when push comes to shove, you can't call them. And sometimes you need every rear guard you can get, and I'm speaking from experience, especially when I rush every time. Then we have our last grade 1, and that's the grade 1 of the ride deck, who kind of confirms that we do need the one who carries knowledge Ava as our grade 0, so disregard what I said earlier about not needing her. An afternoon nap regardless of plays Ava, or as I like to call it, absolutely unnecessarily named Ava. Grade 1 boost, 5k power, 8k power, 5k shield, has the Link Joker Loopies and does absolutely nothing with her, which is why I hated Ava the most. Auto when she's placed by riding from one who craves knowledge Ava. Search your deck for one research card, reveal, put it in your hand, shuffle your deck. Okay, what you do is you, without hesitation, pick this. Unless this is already in your hand, you, without hesitation, pick this, add it to your hand, and immediately play it in your order zone, because that sets you up, considering you want to have 3 research cards in order zone by the time you hit grade 3. All I'm telling you with this is with the Ava. Mulligan whatever the fuck you want from your hand, but mulligan just to see an order. The second you see one order, you're set up for life. Like, you're set up for the rest of the game. So just mulligan to see one order. It's also raining outside, so my voice might be battling with the rain now. But yeah, good grade 1. Free order search. Nothing more to say about it. Then we have our grade 2s. First up, we have our grade 2 other order that's also research. Experiment successful. Grade 2, set order, put it into your order zone after set order is played. Auto was put into your order zone, draw a card, choose a card from your hand, discard it, and then if your order zone has 3 more research cards, by soul blasting 1, you choose one of your opponent's rear guards and bind it. So, first up, a free draw and discard all around is pretty nice. There are a good amount of cards that benefit from being discarded, so you could run those, but I don't, for obvious reasons. As for the draw skill, it's fine. I wish it wasn't discard for it. But another skill for the soul blasting 1 for for binding a unit, that's nice for control games and all, and that's why I run it as a 2 of, also because it's another research. But the other thing is, there are times where you just choose to make this the grade 2 order you play into your order zone, because let's be fair, the grade 3 order helps for more aggressive. If you're playing the more aggressive game, make sure that the grade 3 order is the one you set 3rd. If you're playing the more defensive game, or the more control game, make sure this is the one you set 3rd so you can get binds off. Either way, it's a good order to have. Nonetheless, getting rid of an opponent's rear card, at the very least getting you a draw and discard, so might as well make it a 2 of because it's a research. Then we have 2 copies of straight up my favorite grade 2 in this deck, Heavy Armed Panzer. That is actually why he's here, because he's my favorite grade 2. Anyways, grade 2 and stuff, 5k shield, 10k base. Continues rear guard. If your order zone has a set order, he gets boost. Okay, so if you're wondering why I don't run that one grade 2 promo, it is not because I don't like him, because I do, because I even said in the Vanity video he's really good. The reason I don't run him is because ever since someone made me realize that I do run promos that are really hard to get or that were in Japanese, I've decided that when I do a deck profile, I'm going to wait till if I want to run a promo, I'm going to see if that card is confirmed to currently be like ready to go in English. Obviously, most promos, if not all of them, go to English eventually, but I want like the confirmation that we know it's close by that's going to go to English. And because that promo was just revealed, obviously we do not have information on when it's going to come out, so I'm not going to run it. Yes, when it eventually comes out, I will run it. But for now, Heavy Arm Panzer. He's just a free booster. And honestly, that helps out a lot. Because when I'm not using Bone Mines, I'm using him, and that drops an additional 10k on the guard power. So 2 up. He's just good to have all around. Then we have 4 copies of the new Obscutoid, Great Sword of the Ferocious Black Flame Obscutoid, or Obscutoid, I don't fucking know how to say his name. Grade 2, Intercept, 5k shield, 10k base, auto rear guard circle. If your order zone has 3 or more set orders, this unit gets plus 5k power and 5k shield. In my opinion, I'll active on both press turns by the way, in my opinion, this is the best non-glitter skill I've seen gone out that is absolutely generic. Because the other Obscutoid, which is the reason why I didn't like him originally, is his defensive ability was restricted to your Vanguard had to be an Ava. Now for this one, your Vanguard doesn't have to be an Ava for him to be a 15k base with a 10k shield. You just have to have 3 more set orders. Gravidia can do that, it's just that they kind of struggle to keep it over 3. Prison doesn't do this, but Orphis definitely does it. So does Ava, obviously. And what's the other one that does it? Wellstar can do it. Wellstar can definitely do it if you let it. You don't need to do it in Wellstar, but you can if you want to. And then I swear there was one more Brandt deck that like is eluding my mind right now. But whatever it is, this deck can definitely take advantage of it in most of them because they're all order-based decks. Oh yeah, Alcorite can definitely take advantage of it, so that's cool. And then Glitter Ava, activate Vanguard's a Glitter with Ava in its card name. Auto when you're placed on by a card's ability. Doesn't matter if it's Ava or another card's ability. If your order zone has 3 more research cards in it, when this unit would attack, it can battle every unit in the opponent's front row. Okay, I don't like this skill. I've like talked about this before, where I believe these skills only belong or should only belong to Vermilion, just because I don't know. Maybe it's because where it's originated from, but it just feels like it's weird on every other card because all it really does is just nullify interceptors, and yeah, technically it makes their life harder because that means they have to call stuff to either block it or they just have to recall their rear guards. But I don't know, I feel like it's just weird for a rear guard to have that skill. I don't know why. It just feels so unnatural to me. It feels like it's weird. Also, the fact that you still have to have 3 more research cards. Granted, it's not as hard as it was when the first Obscutoid came out, when they only had 1 to work with, and they only had 2 ways to search it, so fair. But 4 of Obscured. He's not bad, don't get me wrong. I just don't like his glitter skills as much as I like his first skills. So, 4 of. It's an amazing defensive card and a great aggressive card, just not a card I like. Then we have our last Grade 2, and it's Grade 2 of the Ride deck, and that is 1 copy of Smooth Research Progress Ava. Grade 2 Intercept 5k Shield, 10k base. Auto is placed on by riding from an afternoon nap regards to place Ava. Search your deck for 1 research card, reveal, put it to hand, shuffle your deck. Okay, I like how both of these do the exact same thing, just for different units, and also they literally can search for any order that is research, so that's great. But yeah, so this is normally the one where you pick your setup order. It's either you're going to pick this one to control the game, or you're going to pick the next one to, you know, be aggressive and make a board out of it. Either way, doesn't matter. It's a nice ride deck, Grade 2 to have. So 1 of. Also, before we get to the next card, because I remember what it is, this thing, like I said before, works with any card's called ability, so it doesn't specifically have to be Ava. It can be an order, it can be another unit. It just has to have Ava. The Vanguard just has to have Ava in its card name. Speaking of which, here's the order I'm referring to that can call it, and that is the World is a Blue Research Lab. One of my least favorite names, but one of my most favorite arts. Grade 3 set order after set orders play, put it to your order zone. Now all Ava's missing is a Grade 4 order and a Grade 0 order to prove the point that Ava has an order of every grade. Play this if your Vanguard's a glitter with Ava in its card name. Auto is put into your order zone, look at the top 5. Drew up to 1 card from among them, call to rear guard and shuffle your deck. I want this to be clear now. All Ava orders have 0 cost in terms of place, which is funny to me. Anyways, yeah, free call of any one unit, so that's amazing. It can be a trigger, it cannot be a trigger. Hell, it could actually be an order because it just says call up to a card. So, you know, cool that can be an order because I believe based off of V rulings, you can call orders. They'll just disappear immediately. So being able to call this and get multi-attack is great, or being able to call Obscutoid and get extra crits is great. But, cool, and then act order zone once per turn by soul blasting 1. I always forget that. And resting 3 research cards in your order zone, including itself if you want to. Choose one of your glitter units, and it gets +5 for the turn. I'm gonna tell you that right now. You will rarely, if you play like I do, you will rarely have more than 3. And what I mean by this is, yeah, you may hit 4, but the second you hit 4, you'll probably use this thing skill, and then go right back down to 3. So yeah, you never really need to worry about having 2 of these in the order zone. Most likely it's only going to proc off once. And honestly, I forget that skill half the time anyways, and I don't really need it. So you run it because it gets free calls, and because that 5k skill can be, I guess, somewhat helpful if you do remember it. But honest to God, I forget it so often, and yeah, that has made absolutely no difference. So 3 of the World is a Blue Research Lab. Good order, and I don't even use it to its full ability. Then we have 4 copies of the reason I like this deck. Not of Blackness, Obscutoid. And I like his big sword, and I like how his like outline looks really cool. And I like the fur, I guess, puff in his back. Anyways, Grade 3 episode, 13k base, auto rear when this unit attacks into anything. If your order has a set order in it, regardless of what it is, it gets +5k power. Then if you have 3 or more set orders, again, regardless of what it is, so it can be research, world, prison, etc., gets +10k power, so +5. Really wish it just gave +15 instead of +5, but or +10. But hey, it's so good. Like 23k swing is not that hard to hit, especially because in this deck you are guaranteed 2 free orders. So all you have to do is just draw a 3rd one, which is why I said mulligan for an order. So, you know, easy 23k swing. Again, I wish it was +15 instead of just +10 or +5, but that's just how it goes. And then Glitter Ava, activate your Vanguard, so good with Ava's card name. The only card to my memory that has 2 different skills based off its glitter effect. So the first one is auto is placed on rear guard by any card's ability. So it could be yours or it could be your opponent's. that actually is how it's worded. By its wording, that's how it would work. If your order zone has 3 more research cards, now it's getting down to the specifics, it gets +1 crit for the turn. So that's great, being able to do extra damage. And then continues to regard guard circle, it gets intercept and gets +10k shield. So great, so it's a 10k interceptor and it's a just a 23k swing, possibly double crit. Best part is the deck can get going when your opponent's at grade 2 because Ava doesn't require the opponent to be a grade 3. Neither does this, and neither do any of these orders. So you can get 4 attacks with one of them being double crit while your opponent's at grade 2. That's why this deck is fun to play for me. Just full out aggression out from the get-go. 4 of Knight of Blackness Obscutoid, just a good grade 3 to have. And, even in non-Ava decks, it's still pretty good. It's just not as good in non-Ava decks because it's only 23k swing, and a lot of decks do have access to those things. So, fair enough. Then we have our last card in the deck, and that is 3 of in the main deck, 1 copy in the right deck of Fountain of Knowledge Ava. Grade 3 Trigger Persona, 13k base, Act Vanguard, once per turn, Counterboss 1, look at the same number of cards on top of your deck, equal to the number of research cards in your order zone. So most of the time, it will be 3. But on rare occasions, it will be 4, but like I said, the second you hit 4, you're probably going to use Ava's skill, then you're going to use this skill to countercharge back, and then you're going to be back down to 3. But anyways, check the top 3 or 4, basically, or, up however many research cards you have in your order zone. Put 1 into your hand and send the rest to bottom in any order, and it gets +5 for the turn. So I don't think you have to show the card, so technically speaking, you could just add a PG and your opponent doesn't know about it, and then you just deck stack. For me, for example, I just add a Obscutoid or a PG or a Persona Ride, and the rest are typically triggers in the order of crit, front, and another crit or a draw. So fair enough. And then, the extra 5k, which sometimes I forget, because let's be fair, if you use that skill, how often to be honest with you right now, which part of this skill do you remember more? This part, the 5k part, or the deck stacking part? Because me personally, it's the deck stacking part. And then her other skill, the skill that I think all of us know her for, Auto Vanguard. When this unit attacks into anything, by counterblasting 1 and soul blasting 1, search your deck or hand. I learned this from the AI, and I've been abusing this ever since. Yep, so the one time Dear Days actually proved useful to me by teaching me something stupid I never knew about. Anyways, search your deck for her hand for up to 1 card with Obscutoid in its card name, so it can be this, or whatever other Obscutoids they choose to print, and call it to rear guard. And then if you search your deck, you shuffle it. So again, you can call it from hand and not shuffle your deck, or you can just call it from your deck and shuffle your deck. Looks like you're going to pick that because you probably sent 3 triggers to bottom, but still. All around, good grade 3. I like it. Gets multi-attack for very cheap cost. There are multiple ways to countercharge and soul charge, as you've seen. That's literally a deck stacking skill that can add stuff to hand for a minimum cost, and it adds power to itself, and it can get going when your opponent's at grade 2. So what's not to like about this deck? All around, it's a fun deck to play. It's just amazing to have. It has really good consistency, and honestly, in my opinion, like I said before, it is the best deck in D in terms of resource management, because whatever resource you pay, you're probably getting it back that same turn, or the next turn. So all around, pretty good to have. If you're wondering why I do not run the Regalia piece, because I don't like it. It just feels weird to have like an extra Persona Ride getter when I already get enough Persona Rides as is, and also the fact that it triggers a Persona Ride. So, in those cases where it might be the reason I deck out, I don't want to have that. Also, it's another order, and it's not a research. So, I don't really want to overdo my deck with orders. In my opinion, this deck already overdoes it with orders. So, kind of don't want to overstep that boundary any further. So without further ado, I'm going to end it here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join the Discord, follow Twitch. I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to stand up your vanguards.